Hey, 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 welcome. Welcome, everybody. Let's see who we got here today with us. So my name is Bob Stewart. Appreciate having you guys on here. Actually, before I start sharing my screen fully with you guys, let's see who we got here. I'm gonna bust my chat out. Get over here. All right. Who we got? Amber, Beth, Billy, Bob. Love that guy. The name at least. Brandon, Erica, Jason, Jeff. Listen, you guys, my name is Bob Stewart. Hi, Jason Johnson. Here's what I'd like to do with you guys today. Ashley, are we sharing my screen again? Well, let's share that. There we go. So we're going to talk about 7 tactics to get more leads each time you take a listing. And really, these are tactics that we're going to talk about kind of related to different aspects of Brivity. Now, look, you could do some of these things without having Brivity. So if you're not a Brivity client, you'll still pick something up out of this. If you're a Brivity client, we're going to reinforce to you some of the awesome tools that you have at your disposal. At the end of the day, if you're not a Brivity client and you think, some of this might help my business, we've got Ashley on the line here with us, and she can answer any questions that you have along the way. Speaking of questions, and Jason found that chat area, why doesn't everybody who's here go in there? I'd like to hear from you guys. Where did your last listing lead come from? A lot of you guys are in markets where you can't do open houses right now, so would assume some of you guys had okay, so referral. No, I mean, Sean, like, and maybe you're meaning the same thing, but I mean, like, I have a listing, I put that listing out into the world. When was the last time you got, or where did that last lead from a listing come from? Not a lead that led to a listing, right? But like, I have a listing, so was it a sign call? Was it somebody contacted us through Zillow? Was it we marketed it on Facebook and we got some stuff from Facebook? So sign calls, lots of that, right? Zillow, awesome, or not, depending on your opinions on that kind of thing, right? But maybe a necessary evil. Realtor.com. All right, cool. So let's dive in here. I don't have much of a setup. I'm just going to take you guys right into some of these tactics and talk about some of these tools that our Brivity clients have at their disposal. So let's dive in here. As we go through here today, I'm going to show you guys the tactic. I want to show you some of the proof that some of these things work too. So we'll look at some of the results of some of this stuff as well. And some of it will be social proof, somebody saying it worked, and some of them will be actually showing you the details. But let's start off with, I think, in my last 5 years of being in the industry, probably one of my favorite tools that we offer, which is, we call it Quickly, but it's a text to lead service. And what we do is we connect into your MLS. You get a keyword. You basically get signs made that you're going to put out at the property. So all you guys that said sign calls, right? There are a percentage of people that drive by your signs and would rather not call you. In fact, if you do traditional flyers, right, they're the people that grab the flyer and never call. And so in a perfect world, if every time somebody walked by one of our listings and they, under the cover of darkness, they slowed down the car really fast, they ran out and grabbed one of those things, jumped back in the car. If we could capture the phone number of every person that stopped to grab our flyer because they were curious about the price, that would be a good thing. And so what Quickly does, it essentially allows you to grab that phone number. If you are a current Brivity client, you may already have Quickly deployed. Hopefully you have it deployed in the manner we see on the screen right here, which is an 18 by 24 standalone sign. You get them printed with one keyword, right? This is Corey Permack in Vancouver, BC. His keyword is properties. So if somebody drives by one of his listings and they want to see the listing price and photos, they're going to text properties to 59559. When they do that, they'll get the information about the listing. Corey didn't have to do anything, by the way. He just set his sign out there. He just take that sign and just move it over to the next listing. We run in the background a process that keeps all of your new listings fed into this service from the MLS, so that all you got to do is move your sign. This design right here is 100% better than the traditional rider that we see a lot of people would kind of naturally gravitate towards, right? That skinnier with 6-inch by 24-inch rider that maybe hangs on the bottom of your sign or sits on the top of the arm bar. When you're thinking about quickly and kind of being out driving by a property at even 25 miles an hour, there's a very short amount of time somebody has to take in everything that's on that sign. In a perfect world, they'd see our phone number and they'd call us, right? Brandon and Steve, some of you guys that said sign call was the last thing I got. You're not going to replace your sign and your phone number and your for sale sign. It's still going to be out there. And if they wanted to call you, they could. But if they don't, they have this secondary option to get information via text. And listen, I've been doing website internet marketing for 15 years. Bill Gates, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, these guys have all signed up on our websites at some point. FU, he signs up like once a month, right? We never get a fake lead from Quickly. It's always 100% of the time that person who was driving by, walking the dog past our listing, texting in to get information about it. So what we find is on average for each sign that I get deployed, so if I had 10 listings and I got 10 signs out there of this design and style, and we can give you guys kind of the version of it. We can give you a PDF that you could use to take to your sign company. We've even got sign people. Go to agentstores.com/quickly, and we've got a company we work with called Brandco that can build these signs for you. But you're going to average 2 inquiries per sign per month. 10 listings, 10 signs out. On average, we get about 20 leads. Now, some listings never get a lead. They're in a cul-de-sac or something, and nobody just ever drives down there. Some are on a main thoroughfare, and they get 8 leads the first day type of a thing. But on average, over a long period of time, you're looking at about 2 additional inquiries via text to people where we are 100% capturing the information, and it makes them really easy to be able to follow up with. Brivity might have something like an auto plan, which we do, that would kick off on a lead like that came from one of our listing signs, our Quickly signs specifically. Now, this next way that people can deploy kind of a similar methodology in a different arena is using these Quickly text call to actions. And really, it's the bigger discussion where there's, a text call to action could be included in any of the marketing you're doing. But one of the places where, and I'll be honest, Ashley, in the beginning, the first person that ever said, I'm going to do this, his name's Jason. He's in Plymouth, Michigan. He said, hey, Bob, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go on to Zillow, and I'm going to put my Quickly keyword, my call to action on Zillow and see what happens. And I'm like, man, Jason, wow, really? That's dumb. D-U-M. That is just ridiculous. Like, why would somebody go on Zillow, most likely on my phone, right? Go and pull a listing up and be like, I'm not going to click that contact agent button, right? I'm not going to, I'm going to text this person. And he said, I don't know. I just think it might work. Right, I've got 20 listings right now. Let me put them out on these. Let's just see what happens. I said, I agree. Let's just see, go for it, high five. Call me in a month. Let me know what happens. I actually called him back in a month because I tracked it. I watched it over those He got an additional, and depending on when he actually gets it up there, he's getting about 1 more lead per listing that he has out there from Zillow. This is an example. So on the right-hand side, I couldn't find somebody that's using the exact wording that I suggested. Jason's even tweaked his a little bit. Gail in this one just said, for all the details, text BKT South to 59559. There is, I just thought this was crazy. But here's what he found when he started talking to these people, these leads that came in. And this is actually Jason's. These are his recent leads that have come. And this guy right now, he's sitting on 21 listings. Zillow thinks, and who knows if that's accurate, right? But Zillow has him having 21 listings. And this month, in the month of July, he's generated 24 leads from those 21 listings doing something like this, where what he did is he went into the Zillow description Not in the MLS, because you can't add this at the MLS level. You got to wait for it to get to Zillow. Some of you guys, if you were a Keller Williams agent, for example, you could do this in the KWLS, right? Or you might have to go directly into Zillow. By the way, if you do it at KWLS, it would get out to Realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia, Homes.com, a lot of these different portals. But otherwise, you have to go directly to the portal, to Realtor.com, where you've got control of your listing, to Zillow, where you've claimed your listing, and add this additional text call to action to contact the listing agent directly. Now, or schedule a private tour of this home. Text, your keyword, right? So in her case, she's using BKT South on the right-hand side there in the example. Now, when I called Jason a month later, because I was watching these leads come in, and I'm like, I'll be darned, this worked. Like, that's insane to me. I would never, if it was me, I would never be on Zillow, be like, oh, I can just click this button to contact him, or I could leave there and go text him. I said, why are they doing this? And here's what he said. He said, this isn't the first home they've ever looked at on Zillow or Realtor.com or wherever, and they know that when they go in and hit contact, sometimes it's not going to the listing agent, right? They get a call back and they're like, hey, are you the listing agent? And the guy goes, no, I'm the premier agent with Zillow. They know it's not going to the listing agent. They don't want to put their number out there to who knows, to Zillow, to farm out to 5 different agents. So Zillow gets a lot of traffic. Your listings get a lot of views on there. He's picking up an additional lead per month by deploying quickly like this on his Zillow, Realtor.com, the different portals where he can actually get in and control that description. Because again, you can't do that at the MLS level. They wouldn't let you put a call to action like that in your description. But these work, and they work well. And it's funny when we look at this. Here's what happened with him. He initially said, I'm going to do this thing, right? But he never, so they went in that day basically, and they put it on all their listings, but they never made it a part of the plan of how they market their next listing. And so when their next listings came up, right, all those March listings sold now. And as April and May went on, they brought on new listings in April and new listings in May. Those leads we saw there are leads that were still coming in from the listings from March that hadn't sold yet, because they didn't make it a part of their process. They didn't say, look, when we take that listing now in April, we got to make sure we get this as part of our process. Now in June and in July, they finally got it baked into the process. So now they're consistently getting a higher volume. Okay, so let's move on to the next things. Postcards. It's been years now, 6 years maybe. I did a panel at a big national conference with a gentleman named Mark Spain. And at that time, would have been 2000, let's say 13 or 14, Mark Spain was the #1 real estate agent in the entire United States. His team was. They had sold the most homes that year. It was 22,000 or whatever it was, 1,900 homes that year that the Mark Spain team had sold. It was the biggest, to that date, the most homes a team had ever sold in a year. And his business was built almost exclusively off of postcard marketing. He does it at really high volumes, right? Like they're sending hundreds of thousands of postcards a month all throughout the Atlanta and greater Atlanta area. Not every agent is going to do the volume that Mark Spain does, but what you may consider is doing postcards around your listings. And we make it really easy for you. So on Brivity, you've got this, it's called Brivity Marketer, and it allows you to go in, and we've got, when you become a Brivity Platform client, like we're taking a feed from the MLS to fill your website up with listings, right? We're using that same feed on Quickly to go out and allow people to make text requests out at your signs, right? Tapped into the MLS and giving them that MLS details about the property. We also then take that MLS data and we feed it into Brivity Marketer. And so as a Brivity Platform client, every time you take a new listing, we know your MLS agent ID. We're getting that feed from your MLS every 5 to 15 minutes, right? We go, oh, hey, Erica, she's got a new listing. Jose's got a new listing. Brandon's got a new listing, right? We just go out and based on a template that you kind of set up, we create automatically right away. You've got a just listed postcard campaign ready to go. within 15 minutes of that new listing hitting the MLS. You could do nothing. You could literally do nothing but come in here and be like, yep, send, right? And there's some default. You set as a default, I want to send it to 200 people. Now what we do, it's 59 cents a postcard, right? Postcard, postage, all the way into their mailbox, 59 cents a postcard. And you just pick, how many do I want to send out? Now, you can decide, there's 3 ways you can then send, like who are the recipients, right? Who's that target audience? The first way is AI, artificial intelligence, right? We've got this algorithm in the background that says, look, her new listing's at 5012 87th Avenue Southeast here in Olympia, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go out and Gail says, I want to send 200 postcards. We go out and find the 200 homes around that home where the home profile and the owner profile from all the data we can scrape off of the internet, which is a lot of data, okay? We determine who are the best homes to send this postcard to. Right? We're not going to send this postcard to somebody that just bought their house 3 months ago down the street, right? We're going to be more likely to send that postcard to somebody that bought their house 7 years ago because they're more likely to be thinking about selling today. Right? And we take all these kind of data points and we say, who are the best 200 homes to send this to? We're not going to send your listing postcard to somebody near this house that has a condo, right? It's not like this house. We're going to try to match those profiles of the property and the seller to who should receive this postcard. That's one way we can do it. Another way we can do it is you can actually go in and say, look, I've got a listing in this little neighborhood right here. I know that most people that buy these houses in this neighborhood, they live in this neighborhood over here, right? It's not like if we were to let the AI do it, they'd just grab a bunch of people around there. But I know, because I work this market, I know when they live here, they always come from over here. That's where they buy from. So I'm going to send my just listed to this neighborhood of people that buy in the neighborhood I have listed in. I can go into a map and I can just draw on a map and say, I want to send it to this area right here. In conjunction with that, I can also then say that you can make some selections. Like you could say, I only want to send to people that purchased the home they live in now, the home I'm sending to, between 5 and 10 years ago, right? In this area. And I only want to send it to people who bought their house 5 to 10 years ago in a price point from 200 to 400,000. Because I know those people today, their homes are worth 500,000 and they can afford these $600,000 house that I have listed. Or you could send this to your own uploaded list. So what some of our teams will do is they've got a database of seller leads, let's say. They got a bunch of old seller leads, bunch of seller leads in their world. They want to market to those people, letting them know, hey, we do listings. We sell a lot of listings, right? If you're thinking about listing, you should do it with the Ben Kinney team. So we might go in and take our just listed postcard on a new listing and say, let's upload all these old seller leads we have because we want to market to them with a postcard to let them know we list houses. When you're ready, you should come to us. So those are your 3 options for taking your templated. I mean, it's really a template. You can change all the words you see on there. You can change that photo. We could change it if we wanted, or we could just set it up, forget it, hit the button, say 200, let the AI go out and figure out who to send it to, and off it goes. You can also do completely custom designs. So this design that you see here is just kind of our standard template. And you can make some slight variations to this, or you can do something totally custom, which is what Ryan Konofsky and his group has done here, right? Where they made this design. I don't know where they made it. We've got a Brivity design tool. This doesn't look like it came from that Brivity designer tool. Him or his admin may have been good at Photoshop, right? I don't know where this came from, right? But they made it wherever. They brought it in. They uploaded it into Brivity. They may have used the AI. They may have picked the neighborhood they wanted to send this to. They may have uploaded their own list. Boom. Out it goes. 59 cents a postcard. Super affordable. But you don't just do this when you're listed. And when I had Mark Spain on this panel, he talked about a couple of things around postcards. It's a long-term strategy, right? You don't expect to send your first postcard and get 5 listings by any means, right? It's this long-term strategy to build up brand awareness, to promote your wins, right? Every time you take a listing, that's a win. It's more important when you sell them, and we'll talk about that in a second. Well, let's talk about that now, actually, because I listed, right? So if all I ever did was send people postcards saying, hey, we just listed this house, we just listed this house, we just listed this house, they might think we're busy, but they might also wonder, like, does this guy ever sell stuff or does he just list a lot of stuff? So you're probably, when you sell that home then, going to want to reinforce that. By the way, check out the call to action that he uses here. He uses a quickly call to action, a text call to action, like we talked about having on our listings before, like we talked about putting on Zillow before. He uses this on a piece of physical marketing, right? Text KG to 59559 for pictures and to be sent a virtual tour. She used text south to 59559 to see the price and photos. He says text virtual selling to 59559, right? We can bring you an offer. This is a template, right? And he was able to go in there and let this, whoever's receiving this know they got 4 offers and it sold for $15,000 above the asking price, right? We can bring you an offer. Text virtual selling if you want to get an offer. You can also do these just solds custom, right? So this one here, when Jake got it, boom, he could have set his template up to say that. He probably wouldn't have a template that says that because that might change from house to house, right? The next house might have only gotten 2 offers. But he could easily go in about 15 seconds, change this to be the specifics of his next just sold. It would have already pulled in stuff like the address and on the backside, all the details about that property. Or you could do something like Steve's group did here, where they did a totally custom postcard, right? Just sold at a record price. It's a little bit more kind of particular to their market or their brand and their style, right? They've got the endorsed by logos all over that thing. Their call to action, they don't use a quickly one in here. They may have one on the other side. I would highly encourage them that they should somewhere on that card. The text call to action, they use, get an equity report at homesbyelevate.com. I hope when you go to Homes by Elevate, on the landing page there is really obvious, like get your home equity report kind of screaming in your face. Here's the deal. Postcards work. We get less mail today than we've ever gotten really historically, right? A lot of our transactions and that kind of stuff has moved online. Heck, most of us today with our banking don't even get those kind of statements anymore at home, right? This is that social proof, I guess you'd call it. This is Ryan. She's a Brivity user in our Brivity Masterminds group. And this wasn't her first postcard campaign that she set up, right? But I'll bet, like, I kind of know her area. Those 2 listings paid for lots of postcard campaigns that she's been running, right? Not to mention all that brand awareness that she's building up with those people that she's continually marketing to in that area that she does business. But they do take time. That was one of the things that Mark Spain, when I had the pleasure of talking with him, talked a lot about and really wanted to reinforce to people is it works. And as long as you get good calls to action and you have a consistent way to do it, it'll work, but it does take a little bit of time. All right, on to our next thing, virtual open houses. So if this was a normal world, and some of you guys can still do this, right? Some of you guys are still able to host open houses, and we've got a whole kind of open house registration tool inside of Brivity that allows you to go out to an open house with your iPad or your laptop or whatever. As people come in the door, get them to register straight away. They go into the database. They get set up automatically on things like listing alerts and auto plans so that the system starts to try to communicate with them and get you into a nice, good conversation with them. Now today, some of you guys, I hope, are still doing these, right? I mean, I know in the very beginning of COVID stuff, a lot of people were doing these. It feels like it's trailed off a little bit, but still a really powerful way to generate leads, because when you think about a traditional open house, it was like Saturday 2 to 4, you could do it once a week, you had to be there, right? And then the person had to show up at that location in order to walk through that home. Virtual open houses today are being done 3 times a week, during the weeks, in the evenings, where that person could be sitting on their Facebook or sitting at their, on their couch and watching you actually tour and walk through that home. I'm going to ask Ashley right now if she'll share in the chat the link that we did. We did a whole class on how to host a virtual open house, and Ashley just shared it with you there, the link to watch that class on YouTube. let's just say that we've got these tools in place here where you could go out and promote a virtual open house and kind of allow somebody to get the registration for it and go out and promote those things. And again, with a virtual open house, they could be done anytime. Like you could hold one, what's today? Today's Wednesday. You could decide, I'm going to hold a virtual open house Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on my open house. I'm going to do one at 5, 6, 7, and 8 p.m. Each night for the next 4 days. People will show up. Now, in our webinar where we totally dove in 100% and all we talked about was virtual open houses, we give you all the tactics and the ways to market this thing and to get people to actually show up and what to do and how to get their information when they're there. And thank you for sharing that, Ashley. You guys should see that in your chat area right now. So this one's a little bit, I think if I was being true to the title of our talk today, which is 7 ways to get more leads from each listing you take, this one wouldn't actually qualify, okay? But there's this idea that, look, many of you guys, if you're a Brivity client, you have a good you're probably a better handle on this. If you're not, maybe your current system does this but every time we take a listing here on the Ben Kinney team or in a lot of our Brivity clients, what we have the ability to do is go in and basically reverse prospect against my database to try to bring value or find a buyer for that listing. So this is an example out of, I think it's one of our Vancouver teams, so the Ben Kinney team, our Vancouver team. And let's say I work on that team, and I'd recently taken a listing that we were going to put on the market at $475,000. I could go into their database, and I could pull up every lead in that database that's ever looked at a home between $450,000 and $500,000. Let's say ours had 4 bedrooms, right? We could even go in and say, I want to see everybody that's looked at homes between $450,000 and $500,000, a minimum of 4 bedrooms, and show me them in the index. We actually use this at listing appointments to like potentially close the deal, right? We'll say to somebody at a listing appointment, listen, we're going to talk at the end about how much we're going to put your home on the market for, but we know it's going to be somewhere in this 450 to 550 range, right? We're going to nail that down here at the end. But I wanted to show you one of the first things we're going to do when we take your listing is we're going to go and call these 68 people who've been on our website just in the last couple of days or weeks who've been looking at houses just like yours. We're going to call them and present your home to them, see if they want to come take a look at it or set up a tour, see if they'd like to do a virtual tour when we host a virtual open house on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We set out with a goal in 2020 to get both ends of more of the transactions in our world, right? We list a lot of homes in our world, and without a focused approach on trying to sell those homes ourselves, most of those homes get sold by another agent, which is fine and awesome, and that's why we have an MLS and reciprocation and all these things, right? But what if we could increase, what if any of you could increase, by 15% the amount of times that you got the other side of your listing transactions? That would be, for some of you guys, a substantial increase in your business. Reverse prospecting your database. It's not new leads. It's figuring out a way to go in and get the most out of what you have in your business today. Those leads that are already living in your world somewhere. This is why we set up listing alerts on everybody. Like every single person in our database, unless there's a real good reason. And there's plenty of real good reasons why you wouldn't have a listing alert going out to somebody trying to show them what's going on around. But old leads, new leads, leads we've talked to, leads we haven't, right? They're all getting this to drive them back so they're on our website so we can get information like this to be able to turn around to sellers or to be able to take advantage of when we have a listing, right? 450 to 550. I might go up to or 450 to 500 on here, right? I might go up to 550 and down to 400 and expand that range to $150,000 range. I'm going to have a lot more people to call. So this is, I think we're at 7, but I don't know if I was going to use this. In fact, when I was building this presentation, I was kind of bouncing a bunch of ideas off of Ben, and I was like, "Are you guys still using Craigslist?" And he's like, "Yep." And we still get leads from it. And he said a couple years ago, Craigslist stopped allowing you to put links in Craigslist, right? You could put them in there, but a person can't click on them. They got to like copy and paste them. And when that happened, tons of agents who used to generate a lot of leads off of Craigslist stopped using it. And I think there's this notion in, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but there's this notion that like real buyers aren't looking on Craigslist. But here's something that we've found. International buyers look on Craigslist. They don't know any better. And sometimes Craigslist is coming up in their country when they're doing searches for like rental properties in Bellingham, right? They might not be wanting to rent a property as much as they want to buy a property that they're going to use as a rental property in Bellingham, and Craigslist comes up for stuff like that. So we actually get a fair amount of international buyers coming from Craigslist. But what also happened, and this has been a couple of years now, everybody else stopped doing it. And it wasn't that like one day there was a ton of consumers on Craigslist, they made this switch so you couldn't have links that I could click on anymore. And then all the consumers left, just all the agents left, or many of them left. And so we actually have less kind of competition when we place our listings up on Craigslist. But what we realized at that point was, well, if the links don't work no more, let's just start using quickly calls to action, those text call to actions. And I didn't know before I started. I'm like, are you guys still doing this? He said, yep, still a part of our plan. And so then we're like, well, I wonder, is this still working? Right? So I went in, and you can see I pulled this yesterday. So Ben's team up, this is just this little team here in Bellingham. And look, they do carry a pretty high volume of inventory, right? They're looking at, let's say 40. I mean, their market's kind of low right now. They don't have much inventory here, but they're going to be carrying 40 listings in this market in a downtime, right? In a tight inventory market. They've gotten 24 leads in the last 30 days. From that, and inside of Brivity, like when somebody does a quickly, right, they text your keyword, the lead comes in with a certain tag. And what we're looking at is all of the leads that are tagged Craigslist from a source of quickly, which means they were on one of these ads. Right? For information, text Craigslist, which the lead came into Brivity. It's got a tag of Craigslist, source of quickly in the last 30 days. The way these leads broke down, there's 24 of them in here. 2 of them were hot, which means the agent talked to that person, and there's an indication that they're going to buy in the next 90 days or sell. Right? And even like Nick Brown right here, they've got him marked as a nurture buyer seller. We got an address from this guy. And you think about how a quickly lead comes in, it literally just comes in with a phone number. Look how many email addresses we've been able to pick up for these people, that we got their names. On Nick Brown, when we talked to him, we actually got his address, which means we've got somebody that might be considering buying a home as well as selling that house that he lives in. Now, this is less. They got 40 listings. They've only gotten 24 leads from it. It's less than 1 lead per month, but they're really good leads, right? We know with 100% certainty we have that most valuable piece of contact information you could have for somebody in 2020. Now, look, there becomes this, like you think about, okay, I'm getting 0.6 leads per listing that I put out. And you start to do the math on like how long it takes you to put that thing in Craigslist, it probably still makes sense even if you were doing it. But it makes a ton more sense if you had like a virtual professional, a virtual assistant doing it. By the way, Brivity has virtual assistants. They're trained in the ways of Brivity and many of the kind of tactics that we use on our Ben Kinney teams here. Things like adding listings to Craigslist. right? And this is something that we just have our VAs on a rotating, they're just constantly adding that thing. And Craigslist drops it off after a few days and they go back and they add it in. And if you were going to the Bellingham or the Seattle areas of Craigslist and look up on any given day, we've got a number of properties out there, all of them driving a text call to action inside of them back for that person to get more information. I'll be honest with you, some of these calls to action that we've been showing you guys are pretty weak, right? For more information, text Craigslist. I like the one that the guy used earlier that we saw on the postcard that said to get a free virtual tour, text, right? For price and photos, or, he put too many photos on here. I would have put 3 photos and said to get all the photos, text Craigslist to 59559. The more information this is just a general marketing tip, by the way. The more information you put out in an ad like this, the less likely, all you're doing, let's say, for example, he says this mid-century, and there's more here that I kind of cut off the end, but it says, 3,000 square foot on nearly a half-acre lot. What if the person decided, I don't want to buy this house because I don't want to mow a half acre of grass. That's me. That's what I would think right here. I'd be like, nope, I'm good. A half acre, that sounds like a lot of grass to mow, right? If I had simply not put that on here and then I had landed here and said, oh, wow, this totally, what if that on nearly a half acre was the reason I didn't inquire about this property? Do you think Anthony could find me a house similar to this that wasn't on a half acre? I bet he could. So the more information you put out there, all you're doing is allowing them to disqualify themselves from wanting to get more information about that thing. It's one of the reasons why on these kind of designs that we did here, we made them really bare bones to where you're basically just showing a photo of the house and the price that it was at, right? They want to get more pictures, text in. A lot of people will even leave the price off of these things to get people to text you, because all you're doing, again, is when you put the price on there, you're disqualifying them. They go, oh, I can't afford $650. They might only be able to afford $500. What if you had just left the price off? They go, oh, how much is this house? And then when they see it's $650, they go, oh, darn, I can't do that. But now you've got their phone number to be able to call them and say, hey, I've got $500,000 houses too. All right, so some of you guys, I recognize some of your names on here, Erica, Jose, some of you guys. If you're already a Brivity client, awesome. Get to work using some of these things we just talked about, please. If you're not a Brivity client, we'd love for you to explore what that might mean for your business. We offer packages at all different levels and all different price points. Okay, as your business grows, there's more functionality and features that you might need. If you're on here and you're like, I'm not a Brivity client, but man, a bunch of these things feel like something that I might be able to use in my business, because right now I have 10 listings and I'm not getting two text leads and an extra lead from Zillow and an extra 0.6 leads because I'm doing Craigslist. We talked about 4 extra leads per listings, 3.5 to 4 extra leads per listings just from those quickly things. That's not postcards, right? That's not reverse prospecting into our database to try to find a buyer for that listing. Text platform to 59559 right now. If you're like, I want to do this. I want to at least talk to somebody. I want to see a little bit more of what Brivity has, because we got all sorts of other stuff, right? Something I didn't talk about, you might consider doing Facebook ads. We have Facebook ads that we can run for you guys. It's called dynamic property ads, where we take a feed from your MLS, right? We know which listings are yours specifically, and then we go out and create ads based on your listing inventory, and we rotate those ads through. And then when somebody goes and lands on your ad and goes back and looks at that property on your website, we start serving up other similar type listing ads to them. By the way, if you're a current Brivity client and you're interested in that, do me a favor. It's in beta right now. We haven't released that thing yet. It's a bunch of our kind of internal teams that are using it. There's a few Brivity clients on it. Email me at bob@benkinney.com if you're curious about getting in on that beta. the leads are really cheap. They're interruption marketing leads, right? Somebody's on Facebook, we're putting an ad in front of them. They didn't necessarily have intention of buying, but they're like, oh, look at this house, right? But we can get a lot of them. If you have a team, you need leads for your folks to work, shoot me an email. I can probably get you to get Grant to let a couple more people into that beta before we announce it widely and kind of let more folks in the next couple of weeks. All right, so you spent the time here with me. Listen, if you take the 15 minutes, right, to go out, text platform to 59559 and connect with Ashley or one of the folks on our team. I think you owe it to yourself that we make so. And I'll leave you guys with this, and I'll give you 15 minutes of your day back. Okay. The quote that you see in the top right-hand corner of this slide is super bold. I just want to admit that, right? The only system that guarantees success in real estate. I believe that's a massively bold claim. Here's why we feel comfortable making it. The first reason why is we don't do contracts. Okay. If we can't earn your business like today and tomorrow and the next day, we're not putting you in a year-long contract and then showing up in month 11 and being like, hey, Ashley, is everything good? No, it's not. Oh, shoot. Let us try to fix this before you're going to renew in a month, right? It's every single day we got to earn your business. That's the first reason I think that we show up really well. The other reason is we actually take our own medicine. So Brivity is owned by a gentleman named Ben Kinney. Ben is one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the entire United States. And our teams, which encompass about 35 cities and 35 different operating teams, all use Brivity as the backbone of their business. So we are not just building a product based on what we think you should do in real estate. We are building a product based on a really, really high functioning business already. And then on top of that, we're taking suggestions from you guys, but we're actually in the trenches with you. The other thing then is, because we're in the trenches, the stuff we're talking about here is not theory. It's not even stuff that we see our clients doing. It's stuff that we're actually doing and deploying and seeing the results of. Some of these things that I showed you guys here, I mean, even to this level, where is she? That's actually my mom. Gail Smith's my mom. She runs the Ben Kinney expansion team in Olympia, Washington. I know, in fact, I was having a conversation with her before we jumped on the call about one of her leads from this campaign right here, because I jumped into her CRM to see how many they'd gotten. And we are deploying this today in our business. This Craigslist ad is literally an ad that I pulled a couple of days ago. That's an active listing right now. And the results from that, these are leads that came in the last 30 days as of a day or two ago when I put this deck together. All right. Erica, appreciate you joining us. Reverse prospecting. Erica picked, she's a client of ours. And if that's all she learned from this webinar today, I promise you that is going to lead to an additional couple of closings in their business this year because they double end something. Alex, high five, bud. Listen, the rest of you guys get back to work on behalf of Samantha, who kind of drives you guys to these things and make sure you know where to show up. Ashley, who's in the background answering questions and serving up links if you guys need them. My name's Bob Stewart. You guys have an awesome rest of your week. There's 19 minutes of your day back. High five, listen, do me a favor. Get off the phone right now, go into your database and call 3 people, the 3 most likely people in your database that are going to buy or sell. Go figure out who they are and spend these next 19 minutes calling them, and then send me an email to Bob at Ben Kinney when you set an appointment. I'll give you that big high five. Get out of here, you guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye.